I have said this in countless videos about the MCU. I'm a fan, but I'm not as huge a fan of theirs as I used to be because their storytelling only seems to grow weaker. I know what to expect from them, and rarely do the stories ever surprise me, not in cameos and references, but in storytelling and filmmaking. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is a film that I was looking forward to, though, mainly because of one man, Sam Raimi. Raimi is responsible for making my favorite superhero movie, Spider Man 2, and in preparation for Multiverse, I watched all of his old movies, ranging from the Evil Dead trilogy to his underrated masterpiece, A Simple Plan, to get familiar with his style. This is a man with clear talent and is easily one of the best directors working today in the industry. Now, getting to his latest venture into the cinematic landscape, I really liked Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It isn't without its flaws, of course, but I had a really wonderful time watching this in the cinema hall. Now, spoiler warning, I will be talking about key plot points and cameos from now on. I'd say that this film does suffer from pacing issues. The beginning of the film felt a little too fast. America Chavez travels between universes, Strange asks Wanda for help, and the next thing you know, Wanda wants to kill Chavez. I feel like the plot zips by way too quickly for us to really process what is happening. The character's choices and motivation does make sense, but to me, I feel like we needed more time with these characters to really flesh them out and for us to be invested in their conflict. The screenplay is thin, but the filmmaking makes up for it. Wanda wants to use America's powers to be able to go to a universe where she gets to be with her children, and Doctor Strange's mission is to protect America. It's pretty simple and straightforward. There are clear goals and motives the characters have, and so that gives the film a clear momentum. But it is also oddly done sometimes. Strange wants to quickly find the Sanctum Sanctorum in another universe to save Wong from Wanda, but he also takes his own sweet time with Chavez that accounts for character building. Speaking of which, the character building is done well, sort of. When we get to Wanda, at first it felt a little odd seeing her story on television, continuing on the big screen. And I knew that she was going to be the antagonist, but never did I think that it would happen so quickly. But I'd say she's a fitting antagonist for this film and for Strange, not only because of her power level, which is pretty insane, but also because of the theme of the film, which I will get to later. But the reason Wanda works as a villain is because of her clear goal and understandable motivation. Because of all the trauma that she has endured, she wishes to go to a universe where she is happy, where she gets what she wants, to be with her children. Which I realized was exactly Kingpin's motivation in Spider-Verse to travel to another universe where he can be with his dead family. But getting back to Doctor Strange, I can get behind this motivation because it stems from an emotional reason. Her actions aren't at all justified, but it makes the conflict slightly more nuanced. And another reason she works is because we get to see just how far she is willing to go to get what she wants. Wanda is a strong antagonist because she has a proper goal originating from an emotional reason and has the determination to provide for the film's conflict. Not to say that Elizabeth Olsen doesn't kill it here because she steals the entire show. America Chavez, on the other hand, is a character I feel needed a lot more work on. There are a few surface level elements that make her character, but it definitely needed a lot more because this is the character whose life Strange is risking his life for. She has a sad backstory of losing her two mothers and also has this somewhat character arc of being able to control her powers or something, but it doesn't really work for me. It would have worked for me if throughout the screenplay of the movie we get to see Chavez in situations where she has to control her powers willingly and is constantly tested in certain scenarios. And to be honest, she is put in such situations, but the film doesn't really do anything with her then. She is just there for the most part, which is why when she is able to control her powers in the film, it feels sudden and contrived. The film doesn't give me enough reason for me to care about her and worry about her situation. The character of Strange also works well for the film, and it is also related to the theme of the movie, which is executed well enough but needed more of a punch to it. Partly the movie is about Strange and Christine and their doomed romance, but the previous movie didn't once get me to believe in their chemistry, so it doesn't hit the emotional beats as effectively because the film is working off of a romance that I am not invested in. The theme, or at least I think the theme of this film is about happiness. Both Wanda and Strange are unhappy and are aware of the fact that there are universes where different versions of them are living the lives that they wish to live. That is a similarity the protagonist and antagonist share. But what separates them is the fact that Wanda is willing to break the moral and ethical rules to get what she wants, and Strange knows what is best for the greater good. It is well done, but not good enough for it to feel as impactful as I wanted it to feel. The concept of not being happy in your universe and knowing that some version of you out there is living out your dreams and wishes while you can't is certainly a deeply saddening thought and can be a great start to exploring deep and nuanced themes about accepting reality. But I feel like the film really needed to get into the nitty gritty of this idea that would have made for some outstanding philosophical conflict. The parts where the film executes fan service was like kind of half baked for me because it genuinely feels like the film tried to incorporate these cameo characters into the story so that they serve some form of narrative purpose. But to me, I couldn't help but feel like they were included for superficial reasons that don't last beyond a few fans cheering when they show up. I didn't dislike them showing up, I just think that they could have been better incorporated. Although I did cheer for Bruce Campbell's cameo. Now let's get to filmmaking. It most certainly is impressive considering that it's Raimi collaborating with the talented Danny Elfman. The score isn't that memorable to me, but there are certain musical cues that segue the next scene, which is wisely executed. The camera isn't just a passive recording tool, but something with a life of its own. It moves with purpose. A shot isn't afraid to go close to a face to capture a fleeting emotion. It can match the energy of the scene depending on the tone it's trying to achieve. There are a few jump scares here and there, and they work some of the time. But there are clear setups and a proper scare to it. The camera angles aren't afraid to get experimental. There are POV shots. Certain things give the film Evil Dead vibes, which are always welcome. There's a tentacle monster whose eye pops out of his socket. People gets their head crushed and cut in half. There's a fight where two Doctor Stranges fight each other using musical notes. The color grading has significantly improved. Shots aren't lifeless in terms of framing and color. The film has an actual personality. It really feels like the makers behind the film are trying to improve the visual look of the film compared to previous movies. There's an actual contrast and prevents the movie from looking like dead CG sludge. The visuals and use of the color palette are perfect for a story about multiversal traveling. There's a lot to admire here. But I also feel like the movie needed more of Raimi's style. Everything I just pointed out are simply brief glimpses of what was, and are exactly what I wanted more of. I wanted more jump scares, more gruesome and unabashed gore. I want the camera to utilize its full potential. I wanted more Raimi. I really like the movie, but it really feels like half a Raimi movie and half a conventional Marvel movie. There are a few jokes here and there that feel a little forced, like the usual Marvel film, but not to the extent where it becomes genuinely bothersome. But I really wish the film had gone all out with its tonal approach.
Well, Doctor Strange 2 is less a full on original work of mine than it is a continuation in the Marvel pantheon of continuing stories. So my job really was not to make something outrageous and just about my sense of humor. It was really more about adapting, as a filmmaker, a storyteller, to the Marvel sensibilities.
When Wanda sees her children being afraid of her and knowing that they will be in safe hands of her alternate universe self, the film really clicked for me because the emotional quotient was the highlight of the scene. And I wish that the film had more of that. And in the final moments, seeing the sorcerers at Kamataj, I noticed the shots had a golden hour look, which was very reminiscent of the final moments of Spider-Man 2. This is far from being the best MCU movie, let alone top 10 for me. This is easily one of the best from Phase 4, which, if I'm being honest, has been really disappointing lately. Fingers crossed for Thor Love and Thunder though, that looks pretty epic. So overall, I really like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It is certainly refreshing to see a Marvel movie with some sort of vision where Sam Raimi tries his best to work with a script that needed more panache to it. If he ever makes a comic book movie again, hopefully Spider-Man 4, I sure as hell hope he gets complete creative freedom to do it because if let loose, he can make some of the best movies this genre has to offer. Thank you so much for watching this video.